Hello and welcome to Squib TV. I'm Samuel Layton and I'm joined by James Cartwright, and today we're going to be
previewing week 4.
So week 3 was a cracker. We had some upsets and we've told you all about them in our review video, so if you haven't watched that, please feel free to go back and check it out. James, anything you're looking forward to in week number 4?
Yeah, so I've got my games of the week as I do every week. And we'll start off with the AFC North divisional matchup between the Ravens and the Steelers at M&T Bank Stadium. If you want the hard-hitting, derby, I'll say, because I can't think of a better word. Divisional matchup, rivalry, they say in America, between two sides. Look no further than the Steelers and the Ravens, because it's always a belter of a game. It was probably one of the best games of last season when they met on Christmas Day. And
the Ravens are going to have something to prove after losing 44-7 in the London game, to go back home and play against their most hated team, the Steelers. It's going to be an absolute cracker. Anything in particular we're going to tell the people back at home what to look out for?
Well, I would say, Joe Flacco looking to bounce back. Always seems to play his better games against the Steelers at the M&T Bank. Always have a good record against the Steelers. I would expect Le'Veon Bell to have a better day of it. Well, I hope he has a better day of it. I mean, he's got a lot to prove. He's not the best start to the season. Antonio Brown will be getting himself out there trying to get the yards. I really can't call it. I think it'll be a tight game. Don't think it's been a score-heavy game. I think one player will decide this one.
Yeah, we've got two solid offences and two solid defences coming together. I think the Steelers will probably edge it, personally. I think they look good. Ravens coming off that heavy defeat to Jacksonville. I can't imagine that they are going to compete as well as they have in the past against the Steelers. I think the Steelers will have the momentum, although they did lose to the Bears previously. So two teams looking to get themselves back on track. Two sides that did have previously winning records until that point as well. So they'll be going for it for sure in Baltimore. What have we got next then, James?
Another divisional matchup. This is in the NFC North. This is the Vikings at the Lions, I believe. Should be a cracking encounter. The Vikings, got Case Keenum at quarterback, so that's a question. I think if anyone's going to get punished by that Lions secondary, it's going to be him, isn't it? You'd favour them to be making a few interceptions in that game. Matt Stafford, this is a real chance for him to show the fans what he's all about. And I think that the Lions could take real command in this fixture if they get ahead early on. We'll see.
See, the Lions, I would expect to win the game. However, that being said, the Vikings did have a commanding victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last week, and I saw a statistic on the NFL website today where Xavier Rhodes has got the least amount of yards against him, and so could that perhaps cancel out Golden Tate? Do we maybe end up having a guy who's going to be cancelled out because of Xavier Rhodes? We saw what he did to Antonio Brown, saw what he did to Mike Evans. Mike Evans did okay, but not quite as well as some of the other guys have done, or who would have done against other cornerbacks. So certainly two decent secondaries, two decent offences. I mean, those Vikings receivers, Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs, are number 2 and 3 in receiving yards so far this season. So, I mean, do we expect big games from them again?
Stephon Diggs will have to have a big game for the Vikings to win this game, but I think this is an absolutely huge game in the context of the whole season. I think whoever wins this game, their odds to make the playoffs will go up considerably. Yeah,
and in a season where the Packers haven't looked themselves just yet, this could be a battle for basically who's going to win that division. I'm liking the Lions. I think the Lions will get the win. I think the Lions are unlucky to be 3-0. I think they're going to roll and get a win here, but I think it's going to be a really close game. I mean, after this we have Broncos at Raiders. What attracts you about this game?
The Raiders need to get back on track massively, as do the Broncos, and both are top quality sides you'd imagine are going to be up there for the AFC West title, certainly in the AFC title in general. And can Derek Carr bounce back after a poor week where the offense just didn't get going? And also, can Trevor Siemian repeat what he did last time he was at Mile High?
Yeah, I mean, you've got to say that these are two of the teams that you're expecting to be up there challenging for, not only the division but the conference. Simeon certainly needs to improve. Losing to the Bills, I think, was a little bit more, not embarrassing, but a little bit worse than losing to the Redskins. The Redskins, who are slightly, I think they're having a good season. I think they're going to be a team that's challenging. But I think certainly, both of those teams are going to be a good game. Ravens Broncos always delivers. Two solid offences. But is Derek Carr going to be able to get it going against the no-fly zone? Guys like Talib, Harris, are they going to be able to stop stop the Raiders in that high flying offence?
Well, yeah, you mentioned the no-fly zone. I think that'll influence the sort of approach the Raiders have to this game. I think going to have to a big game from Marshawn Lynch. I think that's the main key to winning this game. If you can get some running yards. I mean, no, Zeke Elliott last time, they were when the Cowboys were at the Broncos, didn't have much joy. But if Marshawn can have a bit of joy, I think that's one of the keys to the game.
Yeah, and to speak to about the other running back, CJ Anderson on the other side, he's going to have to come up well against Khalil Mack and have to get himself a performance. A guy who started the season fantastically well. All poised to be a good game in that one.
Yeah, I think it'll be a tight one. I'm going to say a Broncos victory for that one. Just moving on to players of the week now.
Yeah, so have you got anyone in mind?
I've got JJ, because it's the London game, the second of the 4 London games. I didn't actually put this on my games of the week because I say them 3 games are ahead of this one. But, he's coming back to Britain, home soil. I don't know whether it's the first time he's played in the UK, playing American football. We'll see how well he does. And hopefully he can get the crowd off their seats, because he's that sort of player, isn't he?
Yeah, Finn's gone off a really disappointing game against the Jets, in which they lost 22-6. Yeah, quite disappointing for the Finns. They're going to want to get back on to winning ways. Jay Cutler hopefully will show us a vintage Cutler for the fans who are travelling down there to see that game. And the Finns have got a decent chance, but I think definitely watch JJ at home. See how he tears up the defence there. So I've also gone for a different player. I'm actually gone for another running back. I've gone for Duke Johnson, the Cleveland Browns man. He's playing against the Bengals, who haven't been particularly good this season, and Isaiah Crowell, the starting running back for the Browns, hasn't been particularly good either. Duke Johnson for me has been one of the surprises of the season. Do you think he could get a few yards against Cincinnati?
Yeah, just our time of watching Red Zone, we don't actually catch the full Browns games because obviously we aren't Browns fans, but he always seems to be making plays. Duke Johnson, I think, he made a couple of impressive plays against the Colts, so if anyone's going to get them TDs against the Bengals, it's probably going to be him. Yeah,
I mean, a guy who can catching out of the backfield, he's running the ball quite well as well. So certainly a guy that could be available in some of your fantasy leagues. Might be worth having a look at a player like him. But yeah, Duke Johnson for me is a guy that I think we should keep our eye on, especially if Isaiah Crowell's not going to improve his game. Could be a big year for him, especially with the Browns. And a guy that you want to talk about, James.
Deshaun Kaiser. I think, again, just playing the Bengals, I think it's going to be a battle to who finishes third in the AFC North between these two sides. It's probably too early on to write them both out, but I think you have to start 0-3, the pair of them. So one of them is going to get a victory, and I think the Cleveland Browns are going to get their first victory of the season. Yeah,
I think a lot of that's going to go off the back of Deshaun Kaiser's play. A guy who plays like a veteran, very much similar to like we were talking about Deshaun Watson in the previous video. It must be a thing. If you call Deshaun, then you're going to be quite good. It's a QB in the NFL at the moment. But yeah, Kaiser for me looks very mature, gets the ball down, he can run it, he can pass it. Like I say, he got a good relationship with the last guy we mentioned, Duke Johnson. He's been making plays. So I think the Browns could go to town on the Bengals defence, actually, if I'm honest. I think it could be quite a big one for them. Don't quote me on that one, though. I mean, if they get smashed, then that's definitely nothing to do with me. But the final guy that I want to mention, Joe Flacco, coming off getting benched in the London game and losing 44-7 to a Jags team that are ever improving at London. They seem more at home in Wembley Stadium than they do at the Jags Stadium. So what do you think about Joe Flacco?
I think it's a perfect game for him to come back in because, if he performs well, he's got everyone back on his side, and that side's very much got momentum. Whoever wins this game between the Ravens and Steelers is, on the front foot in that AFC North. So, perfect chance for him to come back and prove his worth. Yeah, Joe Flacco, one of those guys who you can't ever count out, but hasn't started too well this season. If anything, I think the Ravens have been carried on their defence, who didn't turn up in the London game, whether that's to do with the travelling or whatever it is. They just didn't seem to appear in that game. But yeah, Joe Flacco, hopefully he'll have a good game, or hopefully we'll have an interesting game against the Steelers. Steelers fans will probably like to see him benched again. Anything else you want to mention going into week 4, James? No, not particularly.
No, not particularly. Well, in that case, if you have disagreed with anything we've said, if you agree with anything, if you want us to cover any more content, please just comment. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube page. Follow us on Twitter at @Squib_TV. You can tweet me or James or Jack or any of the team. Let us know what you think. Thank you very much for watching.
It's a touchdown.
Hello and welcome to Squib TV, live from the New York studio. I'm joined by James Cartwright. James, what are we going to be discussing this week on Squib?
We're going to be previewing week 4.
Well, in week 3 we had some top class games. What you looking forward to going into week number 4?
Well, there's a lot of divisional matchups. I'm particularly looking forward to the hard-hitting defensive display. We're going to get the M&T back this weekend. Well, in the studios.